Hey, you guys out there, how you doing? Just doing a little sound check before getting started here at 7 o'clock. Looking forward to doing that. I have a bunch of guitars at home. Got a real wonderful Guild F312 12-string guitar that I've had for 50 years. Amazing, amazing guitar. Then I have a guitar that it was made for me here in St. Augustine by our buddy Paul. I had Gamble and I designed it along with him, and it's a wonderful guitar. Then I have a Gallagher 12-string guitar. It was made in 1972 that I was able to get through the help of my friend Leonard Lott, who's over there in Berlin, Germany now. But there's guitars always come with stories. So I got a phone call a while back from my friend Carol Sussman. She told me, her husband Stefan had died a number of years ago, and Stefan was a wonderful human being. He was at every show that you ever did, and you know how when you would go out onto you've seen performers. You're at restaurants and bars. You see when the band comes on before it starts, but you see them. They look out into the audience, to see who's there. So anytime I would do that, when you looked out there, boy, Stefan would be there with these. He'd have his high beamers on. Boy, he was all ready to go and listen. What a wonderful soul. It was really sad when we lost him. So I don't know what happened to his guitars. The guitar got stowed away somewhere. And Carol called me and she said, do you think you can do anything with this guitar? And when she gave it to me, it's a Yamaha guitar. It's not an expensive guitar. It was in pretty rough shape. All the tuning machines were all frozen. The strings were all broken and gone. And so I slowly pieced it back together to where it became in playable condition. And as it turned out, while I was doing that, it turned out I started having these conversations with Stefan. And he told me I should play this guitar tonight. So here I am. Let it be known that I have abandoned 3 of the finest 12 strings in the world. And I'm here with this Yamaha that belonged to Stefan Sussman. And you know what? It feels good. So how you guys doing? We're just marking a little time here until we get started. Yeah. Amazing to think that here we are celebrating 25 years of Gamble Rogers folk festivals. And holy crap, here we are. In the middle of a pandemic. I don't think who could have forecasted that one? It was really a pretty wild thing. And it's a challenge for us who are musicians. I've made a living playing music, performing for 50 years. Now I'm unemployed. Ah, yes. But I have a lot of brothers and sisters. But music always pervades. And right now, the only venue that we have, the only access we have to each other is through these virtual conversations and music things that we can do on Facebook, and it's a really cool thing. But I'm hoping that time will serve us well here before long, and we can get to find some kind of case of normal, although it's pretty hard to define what that might look like, given the information that we're being fed. I come from a medical background. I am medical trained, so one of the things that I'm concerned about is all the fear that is surrounding this epidemic. And I'm concerned about it is because fear depresses your immune system. All that stuff we're getting from media out there telling us about this stuff. It's scary, it's scary stuff. It's depressing. We don't need to do that. It's not good for you. It's not good for your health. We want something that'll boost our immune systems. So all my brothers and sisters in music are trying to uplift you with their music, and I'm certainly going to try and do that tonight. Just kind of wondering now, many of you may have been here for the very first Gamble Rogers Festival 25 years ago. Remember who our headliners were? Michael Peter Smith. Yeah, and Michael Pierce Pettis. Bunch of wonderful folks from around the state. It was pretty magical. Of course, Gamble had recently died, and there was a huge amount of passion around losing Gamble. So we had, even from all those early festivals, we had great audiences there at the St. Augustine Amphitheater. It was the old amphitheater, the Cross and Sword Amphitheater, and it was fun. We made it work. It was dilapidated and beautiful. It was beautiful at the same time. It was beautiful because of the people. Yeah, that's the magic of St. Augustine. It's people. We have an amazing musical community here, as well as lots of really great supporters. Over the years, it slowly began to grow. We really got big crowds out there at the amphitheater. So after a couple of years of doing that, I think the county said, well, "Hey, this looks like amphitheater might be a viable commodity. Maybe we should look at this." And they did, and they invested in it, and they decided to completely redo it. And then we had no place to go. So our first attempt to try and do something new was moving out to the St. Johns County Fairgrounds, which is a really cool place. But what we discovered about St. Augustine was that when people would come to see the Gamble Rogers Festival in St. Augustine, part of the magic was the fact that you came to St. Augustine. And the festival was just kind of gravy. So it was a pretty wonderful thing. And we tried just sometimes doing some stuff downtown, and the years rolled down, and every time we'd have a successful festival, mysteriously the cost of doing the festival kept rising. There's a little lesson there, don't do too good or they're going to charge you more. But we did it, and then over the past few years, we'd found a nice little nesting spot there at the Colonial Quarter, thanks to all those wonderful people there. It's underneath the oak, it has its own magic, has its own thing. And the reason, of course, that we did all this thing was even from the day that the festival was conceived. I should back up a little bit. It was conceived by Jim Springfield. He was the principal of Gamble Rogers Middle School, and Dan Downs, who was one of the teachers there. And they called me up one day. They say, "Hey, Bob, come on down here. We want to talk to you." And then what they did was they said, "We want to go ahead and do a festival as a tribute to Gamble. And would you help us out?" And I said, "Cool, yeah, that's exactly what I do. Gamble was one of the most decent friends I've ever had. So yeah, I definitely wanted to be part of that." And we did. It was fun. And here, 25 years, we've kept this memory alive where we were celebrating what a decent human being he was, a man who ultimately, made the sacrifice of trying to help a man who was drowning. Helped him just in the hope that he might survive. A test of his character. He's really cool, quite the guy. Oh, hey, have you been listening to the folks all this week? Yeah, last night Paul Linzer was on. You know, Paul, after Jim Springfield and Dan Downs basically retired from the festival, Paul stepped in and started running our 501(c). Not an easy thing to do. He cracked all the nuts, the bolts, did all the paperwork, kept us, on board. And physically, when it came to producing these events, he was the guy out there setting up the tents and handling the stages together, along with wonderful volunteers over the years. And so it'll be interesting to see where it goes from here, because a lot of the people that have been a part of this festival, just by natural attrition, they're gone now, and there are new folks here. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens. Well, from my perspective, that they just carry on the story about. It's a great story about how a very decent human being who's reaching the pinnacle of success decided somebody else's life was more important. Pretty special. No, I'm not going to get all heavy. We're going to have some fun here. So what's weird about doing these virtual things is I know you're out there, but I can't see you. So I have to kind of picture that in my mind. I have a little screen that's just outside of my focal range here. I see little things flying by there. It's kind of like, oh. Need to get a new prescription, Bob. Get some new glasses. Pause for a little beverage here. So we got coming up tomorrow night the Willow Wax. Wow, with great kids. I didn't know those folks. Sam Passetti introduced me to them, and I was astonished when I first met them, heard them play together. Worked real hard to bring them up to Florida Folk Festival. They came up, got a main stage slot. Everybody loved them up there. They're wonderful people, great part of our new music scene here in St. Augustine. And when I got here, in the late 60s, there was a musical community. It was, of course, nothing like the size that it is now. But it was pretty magical and special. So now, with the community being as large as it is, we need, to help keep things organized and keep everybody informed. There's things other than Facebook. There's like Narrow Magazine, which really fills in the gap to try and not only keep us abreast of what our history is, but they're bringing in all these new people, and that's such a wonderful thing. For so many years, those of us who have been playing music, there was a period of time where there was nobody showing up on scene. They just weren't here, and many of us thought that basically the music was just going to die and fade away. But then, out of nowhere, I think it's the singer-songwriter phenomenon. Now everybody's crawling out of the woodworks doing this kind of stuff. Kind of makes me think of Nashville. I remember every time I go out to Nashville, it was kind of like, every cab driver, the waiter, bartender, they were all singer-songwriters. Having to do something else to make a living, and that's it's true today. actually learned to play guitar on a 12-string guitar. Graduated high school in Tyler, Texas, and president of my freshman class in junior college, and got invited down to the University of Texas to party, and I was rushed into one of those fraternity kind of things, and after a date night, Saturday night, when all the dates were over, everybody got together at the fraternity house, and we'll show up there. And walked in there that night, and there was a guy sitting in the middle of the room. He was playing a 12-string guitar, and he had everybody around him in a half circle, and everybody was singing with lust and gusto. It was a magical thing, and I thought, that's a pretty cool thing. I think I'd like to learn how to do that. His name was Siegel Fry, and it turned out he actually lived in the town where I was, Tyler, Texas. So got back home to Tyler, made contact with him, and he was the one who got me started. He gave me that wonderful album, How to Play the 12-String Guitar by Pete Seeger. People ask me all the time, hey, where'd you learn to play 12-string guitar? I learned from Pete Seeger. They go, oh, that's pretty impressive, man. Yeah. Actually, it was that 12-inch vinyl Folkways creation, How to Play the 12-String by Pete Seeger. Another one of my heroes of the 12-string for sure. He knew Gamble. Yeah. Pete tells a wonderful story. He was, they did, Gamble even did shows at Carnegie Hall with those guys. And, Pete was up on stage one time. He was doing one of Will McLean's songs. He was doing Osceola's Lament. And he got halfway through the song, and he forgot the lyrics. Those of us who do this kind of thing, that happens to us occasionally. Sometimes it's getting more often now as we get older, in spite of that ginkgo. Anyhow, Gamble snuck up behind him and, fed him the lyrics so that he could pull it off. And Pete never forgot that, boy. And Gamble became one of Pete's heroes for sure. That was really a magical experience. So I think we're getting down there. I have no idea where we're getting. Are we getting close to countdown here? All right. I should tell you for the longest time I was going to try and hook up this whole deal tonight to be able to operate it all from my own cell phone. Real glad that didn't happen. I'm not a real techie guy knowing that kind of stuff. So my pal John Dickey has come to my rescue here and has provided a situation where I could just come in and not worry about all that electronic and technical stuff, and watching them fly around, bouncing stuff off from one computer to another computer, and then running them both. I got a cell phone in this hand, a cell phone in this hand. I'm going, oh yeah, I knew what I was doing. Friends, you can't beat that kind of thing. So I'm wondering, I see those little things flying across the screen. I wonder how many of you were there at that very first Gamble Rogers Festival? Huh? See you there. Uh-huh. So I think there's some request options tonight. I won't be able to see the screen, but John's here with me. He'll keep me posted if there's something I'm going to do. Well, I got a surprise for you tonight too. Yeah, you're going to see a Bob Patterson first tonight. Yeah, it's time. So how are we doing out there on countdown? We have an idea? Is the countdown to start? We good? Oh, we're good. Oh, okay. Here I've been blabbering on. I got a joy, 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 joy down in my heart. Hey, down in my heart, down in my heart. I got a joy, 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 joy down in my heart. Hey, down in my heart to stay. I got this greatest, grandest feeling. This feeling's really here to stay. Oh, it's a joy that needs revealing. So I just want to say, I got a happy, happy situation down in my heart. Down in my heart, down in my heart. I got a happy, happy situation down in my heart. Hey, down in my heart to stay. Oh, I got the greatest, grandest feeling. This feeling's really here to stay. Oh, it's a joy that needs revealing. So I just want to say, I got a happy, happy situation down in my heart. Down in my heart. Hey, down in my heart. I got a happy, happy situation down in my heart. Down in my heart to stay. I got this greatest, grandest feeling. This feeling's really here to stay. Oh, it's a joy that needs revealing. So I just want to say, I got a joy, 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 joy down in my heart. Down in my heart, down in my heart. I got a joy, 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 joy down in my heart. Down in my heart to stay. Oh, down in my heart to stay. I got a joy, joy. A real honest-to-goodness folk song I learned from my friend Bob Gibson. Bob Gibson and Hamilton Camp back in the 60s was an inspiring duo. Bob Gibson is one of my early 12-string guitar heroes. So, folks, a big shout-out to the folks at St. Johns County Cultural Council and all my pals at Gamble Rogers Festival for providing this opportunity for me to have spend a little time with you. I got started in all of this thing back in the 1960s. You know, if you know the old saying, if you can remember the 60s, you weren't really there. You know, we all said no to drugs, but you know, the drugs didn't listen. You know, we were there trying to stop a war, talking about peace, love, you know, writing protest songs. You know, I'm still writing them. Thank you, John. You know, last night I was dreaming fisherman's dreams, indulging in all the desires of my heart, when I saw my name in the neon waterfall. Filled my heart with such fright. In a blue neon haze I was standing, making the noise of a fool, singing my songs about love of life to people who are ready for oblivion. You know, change, it's a funny thing, comes at you in a special way, like the tide that crashes up against the shores, dropping a little sand with each wave, and soon that sand will cover you. As time erases your mind, soon you're just caught up in all of the changes, leaving your memories behind. So I'll stand against the tide of the moment. Time keeps bringing me down. Seems like the whole world's headed in a different direction now. Seems like the whole damn thing's coming down. So I'll cling to the lake of my memories, hold on to those days of bright sunshine. Oh, I'll still stand up and fight for what I believe in. To do nothing would be a disgrace. So I call upon you, my brothers and sisters. Stand tall in the face of fear. We can no longer accept the things we cannot change. We need to change the things we cannot bear. Let's crawl out of the valley of misunderstanding. Open our hearts to hope. Let's return to the place we all come from. We all come from peace and love. Let's crawl out of the valley of misunderstanding. Open our hearts to hope. Let's return to the place we all come from. We all come from peace and love. Yeah, let's crawl out of the valley of misunderstanding, and as we crawl out of that, remember, the first thing you do is turn off your cell phone. We need to get face to face and actually talk to each other, look in each other's eyes. That's where hope lies. You know, you need me, I need you, you know, that's what we're talking about. All I need is you. No one else will do. Oh, I don't want no love if it can't be your love. Darling, all I need is you. Now just when I had had enough, two-time lovers and easy stuff, you know, I'd given up believing that love was true. Oh, you showed me love had deeper meaning, gave me reason for believing. Now darling, all I need is you. All I need is you. No one else will do. Oh, I don't want no love if it can't be your love. Darling, all I need is you. You know, a poor man needs to paint his dreams with beautiful and splendid things. Rich man needs a mansion with a view. Our dreams and treasures I don't need. I'm where I want to be. 'Cause darling, all I need is you. All I need is you. No one else will do. I don't want no love if it can't be your love. Darling, all I need is you. say the flowers need the earth, the rain, sun, all those other things. Grass ain't much without the morning dew. Birds need wind to lift their wings. My guitar's gotta have 12 strings. But darling, all I need is you. All I need is you. No one else will do. I don't want no love if it can't be your love. Darling, all I need is you. Oh, I don't want no love if it can't be your love. Darling, all I need is you. So back in the early 70s, here in St. Augustine, the bars would close at 12:30. We were young folks, so we certainly weren't ready to go to bed. We always get together at somebody's house. I always had folks over at my house. I had a little house over there behind the old sugar mill in North City. And I had, and as most of the musicians did in those days, we had those big reel-to-reel tape machines in the house for recording. And so in those late night parties after the bars were closed, we'd be getting together, and I would stick a microphone out in the middle of the room, record it, and an evening of, everybody laughing, some folks were coughing, and just having a really good time, and singing, trading songs and doing that kind of thing. The idea, the reason I set that up was because I figured, if some of those friends should disappear, as friends will do, and I start to miss them, I can just go to my little library of nights of us people being over the house, picking and singing. I put that on the machine and play it back, and I figured that would solve the need for their company. I do that. Doesn't work. Works in reverse. Makes you miss them that much more. Although I haven't seen your faces in such a long, long time, I've often thought about the fun we've had, singing our songs and drinking wine, friends of mine. Oh, I've carried your faces down lonely country roads. Guess you might even say you've lightened up my load, friends of mine, friends of mine. Friends of mine. Oh, I wonder what it is that makes friends go separate ways, even in those troubled times when friends are so very hard to find. Friends of mine, just like fishermen casting nets into the seas, like migrant workers we roam, but we're never free. Friends of mine, friends of mine, friends of mine. Oh, and how the minutes quickly pass into the weary hours, the hours into days and weeks, the weeks into months and years. Friends of mine, life, it's just a moment, a breath upon the wind. Sure, we have to live it fast, we won't get the chance again. Friends of mine, friends of mine, friends of mine. Now when my life is over, there's nothing left to share. Who really knows what comes after that? I only hope you all will be there, friends of mine. If anyone should ask you about me when I'm gone, just tell them I spent my whole life singing people's songs. Friends of mine, friends of mine, friends of mine. Okay, get ready. Here comes the surprise. All right. Bob with the banjo. Yeah, you ain't seen this before. This is uncharted territory, my friends. Yeah. So over the years, people ask me, well, who was your, of all the years you're doing Gamble Rogers, who are your favorite performers? Well, God, we had so many wonderful people. I thought that was a great thing that the festival was doing, bringing all these people from literally from all over the country into our little town, and it wound up that these people would come in and they inspired a whole bunch of new generation of people who were coming to play music. So I feel really good about that. I loved everybody, but the story that touched my heart the most is when we had John Hartford. When we booked John Hartford, we had no idea that he had cancer, and when he got here, he was in the middle of chemotherapy treatments, and he was a sick puppy. He didn't look good and didn't feel good, and as presenters, we had a big crowd out there. We were wondering, how in the world is this guy going to go out there and even pull this off? But he went out there, put on the most awe-inspiring performance of anything I've seen over all of the years. It was a truly champion of the human spirit, and it was one of the most magical moments for me at Gamble Rogers Festival. Yeah. God bless you, John Hartford. Well, it's knowing that your door is always open, your path is clear to walk. Makes me want to sleep, my sleeping bag rolled up, stashed behind your couch. And it's knowing I'm not shackled by forgotten dreams and bonds, ink stains that are dried upon some lines. Leads you on the back roads by the rivers of my memory. For hours you're just gentle on my mind. Oh, it's not clinging to the rocks and ivy and planted on the columns now that binds me. Or something that somebody said just because we fought together walking. It's just knowing that the world would not be shackled or forgiven as I walk along some railroad tracks and find that you're living by the back roads, by the rivers of memory. For hours you're just gentle on my mind. Oh, the wheat fields, the coastline, to the junkyards, come between us. And some other woman crying to her mother because they turned, I was gone. Oh, I still might run in silence, tears of joy might change my face, and the sunshine burnt me till I'm drowned. But not to where I cannot see you walking the back roads, by the rivers flowing gentle on my mind. Oh, I dipped my cup of soup from a crackling cauldron in some train yard. My beard a rusting coal pile, a dirty hat pulled low across my face. Saving on joy, but then forgiving, then fine. Living on the back roads by the rivers of memory. For hours you're just gentle on my mind. Well, it's knowing that your door is always open, your path is free to walk. Makes me tend to leave my sleeping bags rolled up, stashed behind your couch. And it's knowing I'm not shackled by forgotten dreams and bonds, ink stains that are drawn up on some line. It leaves you on the back roads by the rivers of my memory. For hours you're just gentle on my mind. Rest in peace, John Hartford. Yeah, Bob's got a banjo. I just all those bad banjo jokes, you know. Oh, ever since I got that space fixed between my teeth, yeah, I can't play the banjo. Away, away, we're bound for mountain, over the mountain field and town, over the mountain field and town, well, chase away. Rover, rover, see 'em, rover, rover, catch 'em, over the mountain field and mountain, well, chase away. Away, away, we're bound for down over the mountain field and town, over the mountain field and town, well, chase away. Rover, rover, see 'em, rover, rover, catch 'em, over the mountain field and town, well, chase away. So, folks, in addition to being a singer, songwriter all these years here, oh, I got a note here, John. Is that down? Okay. Uh-huh. Okay, got it. Thank you. I just have a confession to make. You know, I guess it's obvious that I failed Marketing 101 because what I have decided to do is I have released my brand new book, The Saga of William Ellis. I released it in the middle of a pandemic. Write that down. The Saga of William Ellis. Hey, he was a real guy. When I first met William Ellis, he was already 90 years old. Had the ability to recall events in his past life with a clarity of mind much brighter than my own. I was less than half of his age when we first met. Born and raised around Florida's wild and pristine Ocklawaha River back at a time when automobile had not yet even arrived. To Bill, the Ocklawaha was a magical, mystical, holy place. Told me it was created when the ribbon fell from God's hair. Bill's best friend, old Doc Zeeler, a man revered in Putnam County to this very day as one of the very best can-do, will-do, old-timey physicians around. Bill liked to take Doc fishing on the Ocklawaha, especially liked to take Doc under those low-hanging branches so he could reach up with an oar and bump it and get a water moccasin or two to fall out in the boat. Doc... Bill thought it was funny that Doc would tiptoe around the gunnels of the boat till he could swat the snakes out with an oar. All the time he'd be laughing. He'd be going, "Oh, those are just those little copper-headed rattle water moccasins. They're not going to hurt you. They bite you. They're just going to make you a little sick." William Ellis working his favorite fishing hole one morning, looks up on the bank, sees the biggest water moccasin he ever seen in his life, 8 feet long. Big around in the middle, it's the fattest part of your leg. So shiny, it looked like it didn't have any scales. Bill said it had a blue color to it. His first reaction was to draw his pistol, cock the hammer. He got ready to squeeze off around when he thought, you know, snake ain't bothering nobody. It's just laying up there. So he uncocked the gun, returned it to his holster, but he was still curious about the snake, so he reached down the bottom of the boat, picked up a long cane pole, and he reached over and he poked that snake once or twice. The snake really didn't do that much, so with the tip of the cane pole, he ran it down the back of the snake. He did it once, twice. Third time he did it, something really amazing happened. Snake rolled over. So he rubbed the belly of that snake. He went home that night, he could hardly sleep thinking about the curious events of the day. So the next day when he went back there, every day thereafter, that snake would be laying up there in the bank. Bill would pick up the cane pole, he'd reach out and start rubbing its back. Snake would roll over, he'd rub its belly. He did this each and every day, but each day he'd get a little closer and a little closer. Until one day William Ellis could actually walk at that snake with his bare hands. He could rub the back of that snake. So it rolled over. He'd rub its belly. It wasn't long after that before he could hand feed it with brim and shell cracker. I know my story conjures up disbelievers, but let me tell you, back around the last turn of the century, word was out that you could catch 25-pound bass out of the Ocklawaha. A whole bunch of them northern boys came down to get in on the bass busting action. Who'd they hire to be their guide? William Ellis. Nobody knew that river any better than him. Bill'd float those good old boys past his favorite fishing hole. The snake be laying up there in the bank. He'd go, "Oh, look at that. Look at that giant water moccasin laying up there. Why, I bet you boys $10 I can go up there and pet that snake with my bare hands." Folks, there was no shortage of northern boys willing to give up $10 to see some dumb southern boy get bit by a giant water moccasin. Some of them $10 bills are out there to this very day to verify the fact William Ellis could indeed walk up to that snake, rub its back, rub its belly. He could hand feed it with brim and shell cracker. Happened so often, all the local boys in Neon Leon's bait and tackle shop started to refer to him as Old $10 Bill. Now, William Ellis believed God created the earth. Every plant, animal, man put here by God had the right to be here. Mankind had no right to interfere with the laws of God, the laws of nature. And one afternoon, he's floating past his favorite fishing. He sees his old friend up there in the bank. As he got closer, he felt a heaviness fall across his heart because apparently someone had walked it up the snake, perhaps the same way Bill had done so many times before, but instead of reaching down to rub its back, they blew its head off with a shotgun. leaving its remains to wither right there on that same sacred ground where one of God's beasts, one of God's men had found such a remarkable friendship. Bill's body was riddled with emotion. He felt pain, anger, instantly contemplated revenge. Nobody ever came forward to accept responsibility for killing that snake. It was a long time before Bill wanted to go anywhere near that place, but one afternoon he had the strangest calling, and as he drifted that old paint flake skiff of his past the spot where his old friend used to lay, he looked up there, he saw 12 small water moccasins, each about 2.5 feet long, right there in this very same place where his old friend used to lay. He slid the boat over to the bank as close as he cared to get, silently slipped the anchor into the water, and then he reached into the boat and picked up one of them long cane poles, and to his amazement, he was able to rub the backs of each one of those little water moccasins. Each one of those little water moccasins rolled over. William Ellis was astonished. Well, he put the cane pole back in the bottom of the boat, and he started pulling the anchor and got snagged on something, and as he drew it up, he saw attached to the anchor the body of a man so badly decomposed he couldn't tell who it was. But he could tell that the man's body was covered with the bites of small water moccasins. Still clenched in the man's right hand was a chrome-plated double-barrel 12-gauge shotgun. William Ellis just cut the anchor loose. Great wash of evening is falling over the Ocklawaha. He cranked up that old paint flake skiff of his. Great blue heron glides over the bow. William Ellis is at home now, and he's thinking. He's really thinking that the Lord works in mysterious ways. There's a place in my heart where eagles soar free, where manatees swim beneath tall cypress trees, where bull gators bellow and wild panthers squall, magnolias shed their blossoms in a fragrant waterfall, where the noble anhinga silhouettes the wind, where herons and pelicans glide without end, where owls screech and otter play, jasmine melts the night away. Oh, my homeland's a place in my heart, Florida's a place in my heart, my homeland's a place in my heart, St. Augustine's a place in my heart. Where white ibis drift above high water oaks, where garlands of moss feel like fingers of smoke, where healing waters bubble from unfathomable depths, while schools of fish swim the rhythms of a waltz, where the sea unrolls its magic and the osprey makes its plunge, where running sands dance and twirl before the setting of the sun. This exhilaration of wilderness creates a pounding in my heart. Oh, Florida's a place in my heart. Oh, my homeland's a place in my heart. St. Augustine's a place in my heart. Yeah. So back when I first got here in St. Augustine, late 60s, early 70s, Gamble and Will McLean took me on my first ride up the Ocklawaha River into Silver Springs. And I grew up, my childhood hero was Tarzan, you know, so so when I got to Silver Springs, you know, so all the monkeys and all the beautiful, I thought, oh man, this felt like I was in Africa. And I've become an advocate for protecting all that kind of stuff. If I could only reuse time, I'd go back 100 years to a place where I could listen to the lullaby of the rivers. For now and then there will arise out of the waters Indian spirits to tell me how they got their names. Sing the lullaby of the rivers. Ocklawaha, Itchatutney, Ekanfina with Lakuji, Appalachicola, Wakulla, Wassisasilla, Calusahatchee, Kasami, Ocklawaha, Choctahatchee, the Kanalahatchee and the Swanee are singing the lullaby of the rivers. If you have ears enough for listening, you can hear what they are saying. You can hear them all singing lullaby of the rivers. The moving water makes the music. The pureness creates the healing. The reflections give up the secrets to the lullaby of the rivers. Ocklawaha, Itchatutney, Ekanfina with Lakuji, Appalachicola, Wakulla, Wassisasilla, Calusahatchee, Kasami, Ocklawaha, Choctahatchee, the Kanalahatchee and the Swanee are singing lullaby of the rivers. Put on my real readership. Hey, this was a lot of fun for me tonight, folks. I have 3 books and CDs. You know, message me if you'd like one. You know, we got Mother's Day coming up. This is Dorothy, which is Dorothy's a story of a remarkable woman living through a remarkable period in Florida history, post-Civil War African American Reconstruction, on a beautiful barrier island on the northeast Florida coast, a little Talbot Island. This is about her life's adventure. And since we have Mother's Day coming up, I just wanted to just read you a little something that I thought appropriate. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but you know, hardships are a state of misfortune, a condition of life that is difficult to endure. It applies to circumstances in which painful and excessive effort is required to overcome. Women are vehicles by which life enters this world. So women know about life. They understand hardships. They stand up against injustice, sing when they want to cry. Their hearts speak silent words of courage. Dorothy embodied all of these traits. Like so many before her, she had to endure more than her share of hardship. She delivered her firstborn son, John Jacob, practically all by herself in that little home beneath the live oaks. John Jacob was a handsome child who smiled all the time and never raised a fuss. Just looking at him made Dorothy and her husband Clyde beam with great pride, but before he was a year old, John Jacob came down with a fever that took his life. Dorothy and Clyde were devastated. Their second child, Lila, came into this world with much difficulty. Poor Dorothy thought that the painful process was never going to end. Lila didn't look all that healthy, but she fooled everyone and grew up to a beautiful young lady with a family of her own. Albert Lee was the next child. He sailed into the world without much difficulty and was the joy to behold. He turned out to be the family comedian, a skinny kid that kind of looked like he was made of matchsticks and thread. He joined the army and lost his life in battle. Dorothy and Clyde would never forgive themselves for letting him go. And their last child, Louise, was like a gift from the heavens, and to leave the burden of their losses. She was wide-eyed, smart, healthy, and a big help to Clyde and Dorothy. But even Louise could not have softened their bereavement for the murder of their beloved friend Lara. His death, Clyde, stopped Clyde from fishing, and instead he went to work clearing land for the Flaggers Railroad, and he lost his life when a big tree fell on him. So he was Dorothy's best friend. He was the one whom she had fun with. Now that he was gone, hardships can come from all different places. There were tropical storms that made Dorothy hunker down, fires that came so close to the house that they set it on fire, tornadoes that just about sucked the stove up through the chimney, hurricanes where she hunkered down. But Dorothy made it through this. She got her whole life. The ability to get back up more than anything else. It's the mark of a pioneer woman, a cracker woman. It's not how many times you get knocked down. It's in life, it's how quickly you get back up. That's how I salute all women. Thank you, everybody.